Good morning. Hope you are all super well and a lovely Monday morning we have today. It's June. I can't remember what June day it is. I looked this morning. It's June the 30th and the sun's out and it's looking absolutely fabulous. So for those of you who are new to the group, my name's Mark, Sifu Mark, and I'm a lay ordained Buddhist practitioner and teacher. I do quite a lot of work online and also offline. Online, I really enjoy doing loads of creating and bits and pieces, and you'll see that in some of my posts. I'm just sat here drinking my coffee just in case I need to give anyone a minute or two to join. So you can watch this video later, you can watch it as a replay, and you can surely ask me any questions that you may have. So what I was hoping to share with you this week is to look at some of the posts that I'll be creating, as many of you see on an ongoing basis. And this week I'm going to be focusing on something that pretty much truly shapes the way that all of us live and how we show up for ourselves, how we live, how we love, and how we show up for ourselves in this world, specifically around resilience. Now, resilience isn't about being unshakable, never feeling the pain. It's about learning to bend without breaking. It's about staying let's say rooted, because that's a great word, rooted in who you are, even when life gets super messy or very, very uncertain. So over the next week, you hear the birds? Lovely. Over the next week, 5, 6, 7 days, I'll be exploring this theme of resilience through several different teachings and different lenses. And that's both going to be online through Facebook group, and also in my classes, my in-person classes I know some of you come to. So we'll begin by reconnecting in the earlier part of the week with your inner strength, and just taking time to remember that challenges are there, challenges that you have already been through in your life. We'll also talk about how to manage stress, how to stay mentally grounded, and how to support resilience in your relationships with your colleagues, your friends, your family, and of course, your loved ones. We'll look at ways to shift your perspective, to see setbacks, not as failures, but as part of an unfolding of yourself. Sorry, try to have my coffee. I'm trying to do two things at once. So looking at how these things relate to your day-to-day life. Also going to look at some ways to shift your perspective to see setbacks not as failures, but of course, as I was saying, seeing them as part of who you are and what it is that you need to do to go forward. And we'll return again and again to the power of mindfulness, meeting each moment with presence, and of course to meet each moment with loads and oodles of compassion. So when you read my posts, each day offers a very small insight or something to think about or not to think about, for those of you who like to look at it in that perspective. Those gentle insights are very much a reminder of your own capacity to adapt, your own capacity to grow, and your own capacity to keep on going no matter what. So wherever you are right now, whether you're feeling strong and stretched, or whether you're feeling a little bit under par, not reaching that potential that you personally want to achieve, just think about this. You're definitely not alone on that path. A strength that you seek, as we say in a lot of our Buddhist teachings, is already within you, waiting to be remembered. So let's begin this week together with openness, with honesty, and with lots of heart. Now, I was also going to speak this week about the Four Noble Truths. And I think I'll just open by saying that Buddhism, when people first encounter it, can seem extremely vast. It can seem a little mystical, and it is in places. It's deeply philosophical, and it can be very, very complex, but all with good reason in the right places as part of your journey through that philosophical way of being Buddhist or following Buddhism. And I use the words way and following with a slight caveat that really they come to you because you're interested in them and it's something that you really, really want to do. But one of the most beautiful things about all of Buddhism, and specifically in the Buddha's teachings, is how really grounded they are and how completely practical they are. So hello, Ilkley Addingham Meddington, I can't get my words out, meditation and yoga, welcome, thank you for watching. So we're talking a little bit about Buddhism and how easy Buddhism can be to access. So very often Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist teachings and their groundedness, if that's even a word, can speak directly to you and your human heart. And it's often organized, all the teachings are very much organized in a way that's really easy to remember. In fact, much of the early teachings are framed through seemingly mindful and simple numbers. So that's what makes a lot of the Buddhist teachings and philosophical points really easy to remember. They're like stepping stones, you see, for the mind. So, of course, we have the Four Noble Truths. So that's the foundation of the insight into suffering and liberation, which is a real heart topic and cornerstone of Buddhism. Then, of course, we follow the eightfold path, and that's pretty much a guide to living with the wisdom, ethics, and mindfulness that Buddhism talks about in its philosophical perspective. Then we have lots of other things as well. For example, we have the five aggregates. And that's a way of understanding of what we call ourself and how we project and portray ourself. Then we have other things like the 3 marks of existence, the 2 truths, and the 7 factors of awakening, and so on and so on and so on. And each of them within themselves are a cornucopia of wisdom that we can choose if we wish to apply to the way that we lead our gift of life. Each number predominantly is like a doorway, a kind of entry point into a deeper understanding of philosophical understandings of Buddhism. And rather than being tied to rigid doctrine, which Buddhism is not, okay, they're offered as mere reflections, things to think about, tools for seeing life a little bit differently and a little bit clearly to change your perspective. Now, Buddhism isn't about collecting any type of belief. It's about uncovering that which is already true within you, already here and now. And simply, as I say in class, just shining a bit of a spotlight on the areas of darkness for you to see for yourself. Buddhism is pretty much self-propelled. You need to get yourself a good teacher, or you need to get yourself a very grounded, founded and trusted set of teachings delivered by someone that you trust, or an organization that you trust. And through those very, very simple listed pathways and through those listed structures and philosophical aspects, we gently remind ourselves that the path to awakening isn't very, very complicated. It's all about presence. It's about being lived, and it's about being right here, right now, in this place, in this time. And pretty much all of Buddhism is accessed through the transition of the Four Noble Truths. That's perhaps the very first teaching. I can remember that teaching being given to me over a decade ago about these noble truths. So let's begin with the first of these noble truths. And the four noble truths, as we call them in Buddhism, was the very first teaching Buddha gave after his enlightenment, not really in a temple as such, not in a grand hall, but in a very quiet grove to a small group of people who were seeking change and enlightenment thousands of years ago, when enlightenment became something that was spreading across the world. Now, what he shared wasn't dogma. It was really his direct reflection of a human experience. And it began with these four noble truths. And I'm going to kind of list them, and I'll list them again in some posts, okay? Because they're really easy to understand, and they're not... They might sound a little bit foreboding, but it's when you look into them, it's actually revealing quite a lot of truth that you might want to consider and think about. And the first one of those noble truths is that suffering, the truth of suffering. And like I say, it sounds foreboding, but actually life as we live it contains lots of suffering. And I know it's something that many of us might be in denial about, we don't want to talk about. But this suffering can be quite basic and baseline. It's not just the obvious of those, which is illness, aging, and death. Those are three very obvious touch points for Buddhism of suffering. But there's also quieter forms of suffering that we identify, such as the dissatisfaction of stress, very much the sense that something's missing from our life. You pretty much get that magnified when you get kind of 40 plus, but it can happen very much to younger people. And like I say, it isn't really a pessimistic statement. It's more a invitation to be real and to notice some of these things that are going on. And Amber is drinking her water. I'm going to drink some of my coffee. So that's the first noble truth. The sense that something is missing, the sense that we have to go through these different bits and pieces in life. It's to recognize that even our happiest moments that we can have in life can be tinged with impermanence, that they change very, very quickly. In that kind of recognition, something opens. When you begin to accept that, and I always say to Sue, we need to make the most of the time that we have left. Because in that space, something opens, a space for compassion for yourself and others, and also a space for the reality of truth. So noticing, in essence, that our life can be challenging and it can be difficult, and we shouldn't be in denial about it. And we need to investigate and drill down a little closer as to what those sufferings mean to us on an individual basis. Now, the second of the four truths is that there is always a cause of suffering. And Buddha very much often asked, where does suffering come from, as a question to many of his people that he was teaching. And he pretty much saw it almost completely uniquely as a type of craving. Okay. He said that there's Amber again barking. We crave lots of things in our life. We crave pleasure, we crave control, we crave identity. And Amber craves barking when someone's knocking on the door. It's all happening this morning. And when life doesn't conform to how you believe it should do, what happens is you begin to resist. We begin to push back. And in that pushing back, we begin to suffer. And this truth, this second truth, that there is a cause of suffering, encourages us to look inwards rather than outwards, not with any type of blame or finger pointing or it was you, but with lots and lots of honesty. And pretty much when you're doing that inward looking, it's to ask very gently to yourself, what am I holding on to that I am afraid to let go of? There's something you might want to think about in the days ahead. Now, the third noble truth is that there is, in Buddhism, we say an end to this suffering, these, bits and pieces that go on in our life that we find particularly challenging. We also say, and Buddhist teachings also say, if there is suffering, then there can be a cause. And Amber is playing with her dog tugger rope thing just at the time I'm going live, so apologies about that, but she's having fun. Yeah. This third truth, if suffering happens, it can be stopped, it can have an end, and that peace for ourselves is possible. Freedom from suffering is possible. Not freedom from the world, but the freedom from your struggle with it. Now, this is, like I say, these Four Noble Truths are highly personalized and designed for insight. In Buddhist teachings, and the Buddha himself didn't promise that life would be painless. He revealed that we can meet life. We can come forward to life with a big smile, with whatever it brings, with a heart that is still, with a heart that is open, and a heart that is free. And if you go into any situation, pretty much with that peace of mind, openness, stillness, and freeness, then you're going to find that very, very little kind of troubles you through your life. I think we're on number 4 now, the 4 Noble Truths. Of course, if you're watching this a little bit later on, you can ask me any questions about Buddhism, specifically about the 4 Noble Truths this week, please, or any of the things that we're going to cover in terms of resilience that's going to come through in some of the posts. Now, the 4th Noble Truth, 4th teaching, basic insight teaching, is that there is a way to alleviate or to walk through the truth of removing any suffering from your life. And in Buddhism, we call this the Noble Eightfold Path. There we go. There's another number for you, the Eightfold Path. And this Eightfold Path are, again, things for you to think about in your personal insights. And it offers this teaching 8 aspects of a wise and compassionate life. And as a Mahayana Buddhist, wisdom and compassion are very much cornerstones of my life as well. So these are 8 different ways, or these 8 aspects that you can use to employ change in your life from any difficulty that you're going through, is to have the right view on things. And we'll come on to the Eightfold Path at a different time, because that's a whole little talk in itself. But basically, you have your right view, viewing things right. You have doing things with the right intention. You have the right way of speaking, and you deliver the right speech. You do the right action in your day-to-day life. You lead the right livelihood with the life that you're given. You apply the right effort to that life. You have the right mindfulness, and of course you have the right concentration. And some of those do overlap in places, but they are very much 8 things that you might want to do to help you alleviate from some of the day-to-day and life challenges. And it's not a checklist. You don't do one, then another, then another. Really, it's a path. It's a thing to look out for at different levels of concentration, i.e., from being easy to access to a little bit more difficult. The deeper you go, it's a path of transformation. It's a practical, gentle, insightful, step-by-step moment for you to think about. So there we go. We've looked at resilience this week. We've looked at the 4 Noble Truths, and we just very much touched there on the Eightfold Path. Now, when you watch this, if you've got any questions or you want to reach out and ask, just let me know. But primarily, I've done this for your viewing pleasure, and because we did a little vote, and I asked people what it is they'd like to know a little bit more about, and that's what I've done today. Next week we'll have a go at doing something else. I think there's a second most popular topic to talk about. So if you've got any questions, you can answer in the post below. You can also contact me via Messenger. You can access my website at marknichols.org, and we can carry on living a mindful life free of suffering and having a happy, easy, calm life. Easy here. Life isn't always easy in the way that we lead it. So I wish you well wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a fabulous week. And here in the UK, we're certainly going to be enjoying some weather in the 30s. So I know a lot of people don't like the heat, but I love it. I love it. I love it. And there we go. Love, hate, that's something that we can talk about another time. Those two very, very polarized views on things. But yeah, I love the sun. It makes me feel good. So wherever you are, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. And if you are in Ilkley, Addington meditation and yoga setup, I wish you well as well. Nice to see that you're watching. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye and namaste. Bye-bye.